Brent Brennan is officially in as Arizona football head coach. We learned a lot in this presser.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your very first listen of the day. We are always here, as you know. All right, this show is brought to you by LinkedIn, linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. All right, Brent Brennan, ex-San Jose State coach, is in as the next head coach of University of Arizona football, and there is a lot to discuss about that. All right, first and foremost, this is a guy that wants to be here. This is obviously a fan base that was, I don't know if you necessarily were caught off guard by Jedd Fisch leaving, but it certainly was not a nice way that Jedd Fisch left, to put it mildly. Between obviously leaving, not telling anybody on the team that he was leaving, and taking all the staff with him. I get all that, but then you got a 3-minute meeting with the team, which wasn't exactly received great. And then you also put out a video that was kind of a spit in the face to Arizona fans. But either way, Arizona needed some good news, and it got just that from Brent Brennan. Brennan, when somebody says that something is their dream job, a lot of times it's nonsense. But with Brent Brennan, you can definitely tell that Arizona football, as weird as this is to say, is probably his dream job. He talked ad nauseum about Dick Tomey and about what the ex-Arizona football coach meant to him throughout his time in the coaching industry, and how much he learned. Keep in mind, Brent Brennan was a graduate assistant here at the University of Arizona. He then coached with Dick Tomey at San Jose State, and many of you will remember Brad Brennan, who was one along with Dennis Northcutt and Jeremy McDaniel. Probably about as good a receiving core as the University of Arizona has ever had. It's certainly in that discussion. But Brennan, first and foremost, he struck just a kindness, a kindness and just a genuineness that I think Arizona fans were really looking for after kind of the Jedd Fisch debacle, and it worked. He came in there. You're not going to find many people in the coaching industry that have a bad thing to say about Brent Brennan, and that's mainly because Brent Brennan's a good dude. And he's made some pretty good connections, and we're going to talk about, what he can provide and whatnot. But Arizona needed somebody that looked like they wanted to be there or be here. Brent Brennan certainly made that one seem more than plausible. Now, as far as and we'll talk about where the players are, the coaching staff. But again, when he came in, he talked about, he's got family that lives here in Tucson, coaches that live here in Tucson. And not only that, he's also got a wife that is well connected. Obviously, she roots for Arizona, and like he said at the presser, he says on air with Arizona football. My wife's a fan, so we watch Arizona football on the weekends when we can. That stuff's cool. And not only is that stuff cool, it's also, I think, kind of refreshing for, like I said, for what this fan base has been through. And he meant all of it. When he was tearing up, you could tell that those were not crocodile tears. He meant those. Dave Hickey, kind of the same way. Dave Hickey is one of my favorite people in the entire industry. And not only is Dave Hickey just a good dude all the way around, you could tell that this is probably the hire that he wanted to make, and he got to finally make that hire. Again, if you're looking for somebody that's going to be here for a long time, Brent Brennan is that guy. And I get it from a booster perspective as well, that you're kind of tired of, you're paying Rich Rod, who was always 1 foot out the door. You're paying Sumlin, who didn't really care about what was going on here. You wanted somebody that was going to actually back the brand, pardon the pun, back the A, And I think that's what you got with Brent Brennan, and somebody that you don't have to worry about anything off the field or anything where, where's he going to, what's his next job? What's he looking for? Any of that stuff. And again, we're going to get to this in a second, but I think it also speaks volumes that none of the really outside of a Jonah Coleman, who obviously could come back or whatever, you don't have a mass exodus of players that have entered the transfer portal. And again, I believe that no news is good news in a situation like this, where because it's generally when coach or players leave, it happens very quickly, because you got a 30-day window to enter the transfer portal. And not only do you have a 30-day window to enter the transfer portal, I mean, you want to start looking at the options out there. So far, so good. And again, fingers crossed. But by all accounts, it was a very, very good meeting between Brent Brennan and the entire roster. I know somebody like Ephesians Prysock entered the transfer portal, but he was also at the meeting, and we saw him on campus walking around earlier today, cheering myself. So maybe there's hope on that one. Keep in mind, just because somebody enters the transfer portal doesn't mean that they are for sure leaving. That is not the case. They can always come back. And as a matter of fact, it happens all the time. Wouldn't surprise me at all if it happened again here with a player or two. But so far, no news that, T-Mac or Noah Fafita have entered the portal. And that is obviously a really good thing. Arizona's going all out to try to, I think, impress those players to stay. And he talked about, the message is that, give me a chance. I mean, you learn trust over time, but I'm here to try to make that one. But Brent Brennan, like I said, he struck all the notes that this fan base needed. And not only did he strike all those notes, it was he just looked like he was very comfortable in the situation that he is. I can't tell you enough how impressive that was, what he was able to do at that presser. Again, because this is a fan base that is kind of beaten down a little bit, and not only is it beaten down, it was also it's kind of devastated with how Jedd Fisch left. So far, so good. And I think that everybody should be very happy about that. Now, we are going to get into the staff and player retention outlook and all of that. But first, LinkedIn, my friends, LinkedIn. All right, here's the deal with LinkedIn. Everybody's gotten a job through LinkedIn. Everybody knows somebody that got a job through LinkedIn. Check it out, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, as I always say, you will thank me later, because if you're looking to hire somebody, cool, LinkedIn's got you. If you're looking to hire, or if you're looking for a job, LinkedIn's got you as well. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. And again, you will thank me later, because LinkedIn there's a reason that everybody uses it. And the reason is simple. It's because it works. Check it out, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk about the staff. The first thing that Brennan mentioned is that he, and again, it's not finalized, but he felt fairly comfortable that Duane Akina would be coming back. I'm not breaking any news here, but Duane Akina and Jedd Fisch obviously did not get along really well. When Johnny Nansen left for Texas, one of the first things that happened was that Duane Akina announced he was going to go with him. And a big part of that is that neither guy, I think it's fair to say, was really big on Johnny Nansen, on Jedd Fisch. Not casting aspersions on that one, but I think it's like I said, I think it's fair to say that Jedd Fisch was not just not their cup of tea, and especially somebody like Duane Akina, who's a straight shooter. They just obviously didn't see eye to eye. And if you're Duane Akina, you've done a really good job with this program. You've got a lot of loyalty, but if somebody like Texas, where you have a better reputation, or where you have a better feel for the staff, where you have obviously a past relationship, you're probably going to take that one. And that's exactly what he did. Now, when it comes to the rest of the staff, it's going to be interesting because, again, nothing's finalized yet, and that could obviously take a little bit of time. But time is also of the essence here. You want to find out who that OC is going to be. There's a lot of rumors about Kevin Cummings. And Kevin Cummings, keep in mind, our wide receiver coach at the U of A, has a long history with Brent Brennan, where they were together at San Jose State. Not only were they together at San Jose State, but again, they have a good friendship. It'd be interesting to see, would he be the offensive coordinator? Is it somebody like a Tommy Rees? One thing that they do have here at Arizona is for their assistant coaches, they got a $4.2 million pool to be able to pool from. And that's obviously an increase over what Jed had. And again, this is where I think the NIL and the boosters kind of came in and said, all right, we'll put this up a little bit. Now, keep in mind, you got to remember that when it comes to Arizona, I think there's always this idea, well, you got all these boosters. It's not really that way. You got a lot of people that have made a lot of money, but they don't really give in that regard. So again, you really have to scrape to get some of these players, to get some of these guys to be able to give the money that you probably that you need if you're Arizona. Now, a couple other things that to certainly keep in mind is with Johnny Nansen. Don't know really exactly what the play is with Nansen, but I do know that Arizona is trying to get him. Arizona has tried to get him, but again, Johnny Nansen's always had a a spot where Arizona fans are, feel good about him, because again, the players want him. The hashtag, staying with Nansen movement, that I think is something that, certainly resonates to a certain degree. I had no clue, I'll be honest with you, that players like Jacob Manu and a lot of the guys on the team are very, very loyal to him. And not only are they very loyal to him, he is somebody that really connected with them, especially in that Polynesian community. One thing about the Polynesian community is that they are very, very loyal. And not only are they very loyal, the people that were there for them, they certainly remember them as well. That's something that I think is very much the case with Johnny Nansen. I'd love to get him back here as the DC, but if you have somebody like Dwayne Aquina, you also have some other people possibly lined up. That's not the worst thing in the world either. But Arizona certainly does have some options there. You've got a bigger pool to obviously be able to play from, and I think that would be nice. Now, when it comes to the players on the team, obviously everybody's interested in what's going on with Noah Fafita, what's going on with T-Mac. Listen, I don't think that they want to leave. Again, I think that they enjoyed their time here. And one thing that I think we all know for sure is that they clearly like being here, because again, T-Mac could have gone and made a lot of money in other places. I mean, T-Mac turned down $1 million+ offer to go to a couple other schools, i.e. Ohio State, and he decided to stay here. And again, money isn't totally the root cause of everything, because one thing that we've seen with the Fafitas is that they are about loyalty over everything else. And not only are they about loyalty over everything else, they're also they're also kind of where, I think that they've really kind of connected with this fan base, and this fan base is certainly connected with that family. And I think that's something that's very, 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 very cool to see. Just the commitment to the fan base. And honestly, this 2022 class is about, from a parent perspective, is about as cool as it gets. I've been doing this quite a while, and you get a lot of parents that complain about things. Why isn't my kid playing this, that, or the other? I haven't really gotten any of that from this group of parents. And I think it also kind of shows some of the character that so far they're staying. Now, again, some of these guys might leave. And if they leave, I wish them nothing but the best. And like I put out on Twitter, they got lifelong fans in me. That's to put it mildly, because of just the class they've conducted themselves with. But from a Noah Fafita and Les Fafita and his mother to, to a Russell Davis, to an Uiagalelei. This has just been to a Kevin Green, big shout out. It's just, like I said, it's a special group of parents, and I'm going to be interested to see where, where they're at. Polito, same thing. Quinn Magnuson with his son Leif, same thing. So we'll find out how everything is. But I think there is a path for this roster to be able to stay intact, and not only stay intact, but possibly have a situation where you're going into next year, possibly competing for the Big 12. Again, if Arizona is able to be able to keep this roster together, and not only keep this roster together, but you could essentially, again, go into the Big 12 with your expectations unchanged. Because again, as we've talked about, one thing you got to give Fish is that this loaded roster. But I think one thing that Jedd Fish thought that he would be able to do is be able to pull all these players with him. And that so far hasn't happened. Now, again, maybe it does happen. Maybe they do end up losing some players to the portal. But again, right now, people have stuck. Again, Jonah Coleman's entered the portal. Ephesians Prysock has entered the portal. But keep in mind, Ephesians Prysock still on campus. And not only is he still on campus, we just saw him today. He was at the team meeting, which by all accounts went very well. Something to definitely keep in mind. Now we're going to talk about what the portal could mean, and also a little bit of where Jedd Fish stands in all of this. But first, FanDuel. All right, check it out. FanDuel. FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. Again, this is where it's at. There's nothing more enjoyable than betting on a game, and betting on a game that you have a little bit of interest in, a little bit of skin in the game. But at the same time, you also know that I'm going to be able to bet live. I'm going to be able to look ahead, all kinds of different options. And not only are there all kinds of different options, there's I think we're at a spot now where you've got the NBA going on, you've got the NFL playoffs going on, you've got college basketball, all kinds of stuff. So again, check it out, FanDuel.com/LockedOn, and Jase Medical. All right, in this day and age where you don't know what exactly is going to go on from one day to the next, check out Jase Medical. Use promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. And again, you will thank me later. Jase Medical, get your antibiotics, because again, nobody wants to be hanging around in urgent care waiting forever when you've got Jase Medical right there to be able to help you store up for a rainy day. Again, use promo code Locked On for $20 off. Get yours today at jasemedical.com. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. All right, now the Arizona football roster, my friends, the Arizona football roster. All right, now let's talk about some portal news. First and foremost, it's super, super funny, and I'm not going to lie that, and again, things can obviously change, but you know what? Let's live in the moment. That so far, half of Washington football's roster has transferred under Jedd Fish, including some very good player or have entered the portal, like somebody like a Parker Brailsford. But what's also funny is that so far, nobody really from Arizona outside of a couple guys has entered the portal. Now, maybe that changes. Who knows? But it's also showing too that maybe Jedd Fish doesn't have quite that family connection that maybe he thought he did, and that the way he left really kind of upset some people. And let's be honest, it should upset some people. I talked with a lot of family members who said that they were just blindsided that, their kids were either like coaching flag football or whatever the case may be, and they just didn't see this one happening. There was absolutely no indication that this was going to happen. And not only was there no indication that this was going to happen, I think a lot of them felt that, coach, you at least owed me something. You at least owed me something where we could, where you could at least give me a little bit of a heads up. And not only just a little bit of a heads up, kind of a spot where it's like, all right, well, you maybe could have told me that this was going to happen, whatever the case may be, but it never happened. And I think that's something that annoyed a lot of people. Again, I don't need you to not take a better job, but maybe get to the point where you at least man up and do something like that. And that certainly didn't happen certainly hasn't happened yet for Jedd Fisch. Again, things might change. We'll find that one out. But Brent Brennan, though, they're going to have to hit the portal for sure to a certain degree. But I think with Brennan, what's also fascinating is he's certainly got a pretty good, I think he's got a pretty good vibe with this roster. I think he's got a lot of players on the team that, we're impressed by him. Talked with a couple parents and said, man, he really hit the ball out of the park when he talked with us. And we'll see if that continues. If you can get to the point where maybe these players really do put their trust in him, because if they're able to retain this roster, you're also going to be looking at a team that can compete for the Big 12 championship next year. So again, we'll find that out, but it's been a real roller coaster of emotions, but I'm glad that this is over. Dave Hickey got the right guy. You could just tell by the presser. And you could also tell too, that this was probably the dude that Dave wanted from day one. Again, I got to give a huge shout out to Dave Hickey, because I think he does things the right way. And not only does he do things the right way, you can just tell the character and integrity really means something to him. And that's, in this day and age of college athletics, that's also something that can be a little rare. All right. Now, tomorrow we're going to come back. We're going to switch over to some Arizona basketball, but we'll also keep talking some Arizona football. Obviously Arizona USC tonight, but again, we made it through the storm. Now let's just keep this momentum rolling. But as always, appreciate all of you keeping it locked on Wildcats. Again, tip of the cap to the athletic department, getting Brent Brennan, their guy. And we will talk some Arizona basketball and football tomorrow. You've been listening to Locked On Wildcats.